The voice that sliced through the fog in his mind was cold enough to raise ice on his skin, a command to drag something worthless away and feed it to the wolves. He was jolted awake, convinced he'd been caught sleeping during Madion again. His mentor, Silas, would be furious. Without opening his eyes, he did what always worked, flinging his arms out and latching onto the nearest person with the tenacity of an octopus. He pleaded with a practiced whine, reminding his master that he was his favorite, his precious apprentice. Who else would inherit the dilapidated spiritual retreat? Who else would burn incense for him when he was gone? This familiar routine of dramatic groveling always softened Silas, turning mountains into molehills. But today was different. There was no familiar sigh of exasperation. The body he clung to felt wrong, too tall, too unyielding, like hugging a statue carved from granite. A flicker of unease went through him. Keeping his eyes shut, he gave a tentative pat, his hand landing on a chest so firm and well-defined it felt like armor plating. His mind screeched to a halt. This was definitely not his wiry old mentor. He cracked open one eye, peering upwards. The man was sculpted with an impossible, severe beauty that could rival his own handsome features, or so he thought. A low voice questioned if he had stared long enough. Liam's eyes flew open. He was fully awake now, and he had definitely grabbed the wrong person. He scrambled back, babbling apologies and untangling himself. It was only then that he noticed his surroundings. The room was not his simple cabin at the retreat. It was furnished with heavy, dark wood and rich tapestries, evoking a style from centuries past. The man before him was dressed in austere, high-collared silks that were clearly not modern. Liam looked down at himself. The flimsy, sheer garment he wore was scandalous, barely preserving his modesty. He felt a flush of embarrassment. This had to be one of Silas's elaborate, cruel pranks. The old man was always short on cash and had a history of loaning him out for odd jobs, but a historical film set? He tried to recover, pulling the thin fabric around himself and flashing a charming, professional grin. He casually asked what production this was, reaching out to clap the handsome stranger on the shoulder in a gesture of camaraderie. He was a spiritual guide, after all. A thick skin was essential for survival. His hand never made it. The glint of steel stopped him, a blade pressed so close to his throat he could feel its chilling cold. A guard, appearing from the shadows, snarled at him for his insolence toward the Lord Regent. Every hair on Liam's body stood on end. The sword felt real, lethally real, humming with a grim energy that spoke of battles won and lives taken. This was no movie prop. The horrifying truth began to dawn on him. This was real. He was somewhere else. He was impossibly in another world. He raised his hands in surrender, his voice trembling as he assured the guard he wouldn't move. The Lord Regent, who had taken a seat in a high-backed chair, dismissed the guard with a quiet command. The guard, Royce, sheathed his sword and exited, closing the heavy oak doors behind him, leaving Liam alone with the imposing figure. Liam studied the man, who was now observing him with an unnerving calm. The title Lord Regent echoed in his mind. This man held power. It was evident in his posture, in the air of authority that surrounded him. But Liam saw something more. A strange aura clung to the Lord Regent, a shimmering gold of profound goodness warring with a deep, blood-red stain of violence. It was a paradox he had never witnessed. A man who saved thousands and killed thousands. A healer with a hangman's noose. Instinctively, he fumbled for the pouch where he kept his tarot cards, but it wasn't there. The Lord Regent, Kale, watched his frantic searching, his expression unreadable. He asked Liam what new game he was playing. Liam, distracted, mumbled that he was looking for his cards before realizing Cale had used his name. He wondered how Cale knew it. Was this body also named Liam? He asked, with a fawning smile designed to keep the man's sword in its sheath, if he could possibly have a mirror. Cale said nothing, simply producing a small, polished silver mirror and tossing it to him. Liam caught it, not questioning its sudden appearance in a world where he had already accepted the impossible. He stared at his reflection, pulling at the cheeks of a face that was not his own. It was a handsome face, but delicate, with a slender neck and fine-boned features. This body, he thought with a practitioner's eye, was not built for endurance. His friend back home, a university student, would have probably labeled this look as something specific, a term he didn't quite grasp. So it was a soul transfer. He had inhabited the body of another Liam. Cale's voice cut through his thoughts, asking if he had seen enough. Liam swallowed hard, the skin on his neck prickling. The Lord Regent then asked him, in a tone of mild curiosity, how he would prefer to die. Liam's mind went blank. He wanted to scream, to ask what kind of benevolent-sounding execution order that was. Should he thank him for the choice? But on the outside, he maintained his ingratiating smile, asking if perhaps he could choose not to die at all. Cale seemed to find this amusing. He explained that anyone who dared to seduce him should be prepared for the consequences. Seduce? Liam pointed a shaky finger from Cale to himself, utterly bewildered. He glanced down at the ridiculously sheer tunic he was wearing, then back at Cale's assessing gaze. A hot blush crept up his neck. It wasn't him, but it was his problem now. The original owner of this body had tried to seduce this powerful, dangerous man. Cale's mood seemed to have lightened considerably, pleased by Liam's mortified expression. He drew his sword, the whisper of steel filling the room as he began to polish the blade with a cloth. Liam's heart hammered against his ribs. All thoughts of dignity vanished. He slid to his knees and scrambled forward, grabbing onto Cale's leg and refusing to let go. He promised he would do anything, absolutely anything, to be spared. Cale's voice held a dangerous edge as he confirmed this promise. Liam quickly added the caveat that he wouldn't harm innocents. He launched into a sales pitch, listing his skills in divination, healing, and dealing with restless spirits. He was useful, he insisted. Cale stopped him, lifting his chin and looking deep into his eyes. His touch seemed to disperse the frantic energy in the room. He stated, with unnerving certainty, that Liam was not the person he knew. Liam laughed nervously, insisting he was who he appeared to be. The conversation was veering into territory far too dangerous. Cale then asked him to name the country they were in. Liam's smile froze. He felt trapped. He decided to play his last card, suggesting with a weak grin that he might have amnesia. To his shock, Cale agreed, his eyes glinting with a sharp, knowing humor. It was clear the man was playing with him. Defeated, Liam slumped to the floor, declaring that he was Liam, and Cale could believe it or not. He sensed, beneath the layers of intimidation, that this man did not truly wish him harm. Cale acknowledged that he knew, then told Liam to remember his name. He offered Liam two new choices: die or become his personal attendant. Liam asked if there was a third option. Cale confirmed there was, dying immediately, emphasizing the point by resting his sword against Liam's neck again. Liam surrendered, his freedom, his autonomy, all gone. Just like that, he became Cale's personal attendant, which he quickly learned was a euphemism for a slave. That night, lying on a surprisingly soft bed in a room adjoining Cale's chambers, Liam tried to piece together what had happened. He remembered feasting on the offerings left for the spirits at the retreat, then sneaking off to his room for a nap. The next thing he knew, he was here. He wondered if this was some cosmic punishment. He sent a silent, desperate plea to his mentor, Silas, the old charlatan who always boasted of his ability to traverse time and space. As if in answer, Silas appeared in his dream, looking solid and real. Liam excitedly asked if he had also been transported here, but Silas clarified this was merely a dream. Liam begged to be taken back, complaining about a man more terrifying than any demon. Silas told him it wasn't possible. Not yet. He explained, his form starting to fade, that Liam might be able to return once he fulfilled a wish. He needed to complete the heart's desire of this body's original owner. Liam shouted after his fading mentor, asking whose wish, but he received no answer before he tumbled off the bed and woke up with a jolt. His back and backside ached. This body was painfully fragile. He climbed back onto the bed, mulling over Silas's words. The original Liam's wish. His mind flashed back to Cale's accusation of seduction. He shuddered. Surely not. Seducing a man was not in his skill set. He would rather be eaten by a spirit. He resolved to learn more about the previous owner of this body. The next morning, he was dragged from bed before dawn, still half asleep. A silent maid pushed him into a room and left. He leaned against the door, ready to doze off again, when a voice commanded him to approach. It was Cale. Liam stumbled forward, his mind foggy. Cale instructed him to help him dress. Liam, his brain not yet engaged, retorted by asking if Cale had lost his own hands. A single, cold hum from Cale was enough to shock him into full awareness. He scrambled to dress the Lord Regent, fumbling with the intricate ties and layers of clothing, putting things on inside out and nearly strangling the man with a sash. Cale, his brow furrowed in irritation, eventually gave up, declaring he was late for his duties at the palace and would deal with Liam upon his return. Left alone, Liam's eyes fell upon Cale's large, inviting bed. A short nap couldn't hurt. He had slept in graveyards before. This was luxury. The bed was incredibly comfortable, smelling faintly of cedar and expensive linen. He slept so deeply that he didn't hear Cale return. He awoke to the sight of the Lord Regent sitting in a chair beside the bed, reading a book. Liam's brain short-circuited. He offered a cheerful good morning, despite the afternoon sun streaming through the window. Cale asked if he had slept well. Liam, sensing danger, immediately switched to his most servile persona, fawning over the comfort of the bed and offering to massage Cale's legs. Cale was unmoved. He stated that his bed had been soiled and asked what should be done. Liam weakly offered to wash it. The punishment was swift. Royce, the stoic guard, was tasked with watching him. Liam found himself at a washing basin behind the main house, scrubbing the heavy sheets by hand with harsh soap. He complained to Royce that having a sword pointed at him was not conducive to effective laundering, but the guard remained silent and motionless. By the time he was finished, his soft, uncalloused hands were raw and blistering. He was starving. He dragged his exhausted body back to Cale's chambers to find a table laden with food. His mouth watered. Cale, pretending not to notice his ravenous gaze, ordered him to serve him. Liam picked up the serving utensils, but instead of placing the food on Cale's plate, he found himself popping a piece of roasted meat into his own mouth. He explained, his mouth full, that as a personal attendant, it was his duty to test for poison. He then proceeded to test every dish on the table, devouring most of it with frantic speed. Cale watched, an unreadable expression on his face, before quietly moving a pitcher of water closer. Liam, nearly choking, grabbed it and drank deeply. When he was done, he looked at the nearly empty platters and tried to appear invisible. Cale asked him how he should be punished this time. As his personal attendant, Cale mused, his duties should be all-encompassing. That would now include warming his bed. Liam's mind reeled. He was a man of principle, a spiritual guide who could not be bought. But when Cale offered him a monthly stipend of 20 silver pieces, his principles wavered. He thought of Silas, the crumbling retreat, and a junior apprentice he'd never met but was told needed expensive medicine. He agreed immediately. That night, he stared at Cale's bed with a sense of dread. He stripped to his underclothes and got in, wrapping himself tightly in a blanket like a cocoon. He tried to calm his mind with native chants, but his heart hammered in his chest when he heard Cale's footsteps. Cale got into bed without a word. Liam feigned sleep, acutely aware of the other man's presence in the darkness. Sometime during the night, an arm wrapped around him, pulling him close. The scent of cedar filled his dreams. Thus began his life of servitude. He learned more about the body he now inhabited. The original Liam was the youngest son of the former Prime Minister, a childhood friend of Cale's who had grown up adored and privileged. That life shattered when Cale himself executed Liam's entire family for treason. The Prime Minister had conspired with a rival nation, leading to the death of Cale's brother, the former king. The current king was a boy of 7. Liam's family had not been wrongly accused. They were traitors. Cale had shown mercy by sparing the one son he believed to be innocent. This drove the original Liam to a dark place, consumed by a need for revenge that culminated in the failed seduction plot. Liam found he couldn't bring himself to complete that particular wish. He felt a dark chuckle rise in his chest. A few years passed. One day, Cale returned from the palace looking worn and troubled. The faint red stain in his aura seemed darker, threatening to overwhelm the gold. Liam asked what was wrong. Cale confessed that his nephew, the young King Ian, had fallen gravely ill with a mysterious sickness that baffled the royal physicians. He had been in a coma for days. Liam saw the raw exhaustion and fear in Cale's eyes. He offered to go to the palace. The air in the young king's bedchamber was thick with a malevolent, chilling energy. Liam immediately stopped Cale from entering, explaining that a man with his history of bloodshed was uniquely vulnerable to such a presence. Cale, his hands trembling, reluctantly agreed, telling Liam that the boy was his only remaining family. Liam promised he would save him. Inside, he opened a wooden chest Royce had brought from his room. He pulled out a large, flat river stone covered in protective runes he'd painstakingly carved. He grinned, approaching the shimmering, ugly distortion of a spirit hovering over the king's bed. He began to methodically, brutally, beat the spirit with the stone. The entity shrieked silently, its form flickering. Liam then produced a rope woven with blessed fibers and lassoed the weakened spirit, continuing his assault. He demanded it return the life force it had stolen from the boy. Terrified, the spirit complied. When Liam emerged, exhausted and drenched in sweat, Cale rushed to his side. Liam simply said it was done and that he needed to sleep. He was asleep before Cale could carry him back to his own bed. He slept for 2 days. When he awoke, he was a hero of a sort. The young king was fully recovered, though he was now utterly terrified of Liam, having woken briefly mid-exorcism to the sight of a madman gleefully beating the air with a rock. Life settled into a new routine. Liam's reputation as an eccentric but powerful figure grew. He spent his days teasing the city's youth, performing small divinations for shopkeepers, and occasionally dealing with minor hauntings. The only constant irritations were Cale's endless demands and Royce's habit of drawing his sword whenever he felt Liam was being disrespectful. One afternoon, seeking Cale, he followed the sound of running water to a secluded part of the estate he'd never seen before. A large, steaming hot spring was hidden there. Thinking it was empty, he began to strip off his clothes for a quick dip. A sharp voice asked who was there. It was Cale, submerged to his chest in the water. Liam yelped, startled. He spun around, and in his haste, his foot slipped on the wet stone. A strong arm caught him before he could fall into the water. For a moment, they were frozen, Liam held against Cale's bare, wet chest. He felt an awkward blush creep up his neck. He mumbled for Cale to let him go, complaining that his muscles were uncomfortably hard. Cale's grip tightened for a second before he released him. He then ordered Liam to attend to his bath. Liam grumbled under his breath but complied, his eyes unintentionally cataloging the network of old scars that crisscrossed Cale's powerful physique. His gaze drifted lower, and a completely inappropriate thought entered his mind. Cale's voice, sharp and annoyed, asked what he was looking at. Liam, without thinking, blurted out a question about what kind of diet produced such impressive results. Cale's face went rigid. With a roar of frustration, he picked Liam up and threw him out of the hot spring enclosure. 7 years had passed since his arrival. He no longer felt an urgent need to return. Silas had told him in another dream to be patient, that the time would come. He had grown accustomed to this life. Then the border wars began again. Cale, leading the army, was often away and frequently returned with new injuries. Liam saw the blood red in Cale's aura swell with each campaign, a raging fire that threatened to consume him entirely. One day, as Cale prepared to leave for a battle that Liam's cards had predicted would be a devastating loss, he decided he had seen enough. He stood in Cale's path, forbidding him to go. He declared that Cale's ailing body was no match for him now, and it was his turn to fight. He ignored Cale's furious protests, swiftly tying him up with a rope and handing him over to a stunned Royce. He mounted Cale's warhorse, a wild grin on his face, and announced he would show them all how to win a war without losing a single soldier. On the battlefield, he unleashed the spirits he had collected and tamed over the years. The enemy army collapsed in terror as unseen forces tore through their ranks. It was a massacre, conducted in horrifying silence. When he returned, the soldiers of his own side stared at him with fear and awe. They saw him not as a savior, but as a monster. He didn't care. He walked up to Cale, who had been released, and asked cheerfully if he wasn't impressive. Cale's expression was complex. He simply said Liam's smile was ugly, then turned and walked away. Liam felt an odd sense of relief. At least Cale was not afraid of him. He laughed, a sound that cracked with emotion, and ran to catch up. Peace bought with terror lasted for 2 years. But their enemies, defeated but not broken, unleashed a new weapon, a virulent, magically engineered plague. It was the same affliction Cale had been forced to contain 15 years prior by burning an entire city to the ground. Now it had appeared again. Liam knew he had to go. Cale vehemently refused, but Liam was resolute. He told Cale that his dark aura would make him a vessel for the plague's malevolent energy. Only Liam could enter the quarantined city safely. Cale finally relented, holding him in a crushing embrace before watching him walk through the sealed gates. For 2 months, Cale waited, a silent statue outside the city walls. When the gates finally opened, Liam stumbled out, emaciated and exhausted, but alive. The plague was contained. Cale swept him up into his arms, ignoring Liam's protests about being filthy. Back in their camp, he personally nursed Liam back to health, refusing to let him walk anywhere, feeding him by hand, and holding him tightly every night. With their enemies weakened and their people saved, Kale, guided by Liam's unconventional strategies, began a campaign to unite the fractured lands under one banner of peace. 3 years later, the continent was finally at peace. It had been 10 years since Liam had arrived. One warm evening, he and Kale sat in the courtyard, sharing a bottle of wine under a full moon. Liam felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He remarked that it was hard to believe a decade had passed. Kale looked at him with an expression of profound tenderness and murmured that it had been longer than that. Liam, slightly drunk, didn't catch his meaning. He clapped Kale on the back and asked when he was going to get married and settle down. The warmth in Kale's eyes instantly vanished, replaced by a chilling anger. He shattered the wine cup in his hand and stalked away without a word, leaving Liam utterly baffled. A wave of dizziness washed over Liam. The world began to spin, Kale's retreating back dissolving into a blur. His vision went black. He opened his eyes to the familiar sight of the rough wooden ceiling of his cabin. His legs were completely numb. He tried to stand and collapsed. He had been sitting in a native posture for so long that his circulation had been cut off. He checked his phone. 10 days had passed. Only 10 days. A hollow ache bloomed in his chest. 10 years of his life, a lifetime of memories, had passed in 10 days. He tried to slip back into his old life, setting up his tarot reading stall in the nearby town. He told himself he was free, that he should be celebrating. But a shadow of longing followed him. One afternoon, as he was packing up, a man cast a long shadow over his table. A familiar, faint scent of cedar reached him. He looked up and saw Kale, dressed in modern clothes but with the same timeless, severe face. Panic seized him. He grabbed his bag and ran. He burst into the main house of the retreat, shouting for Silas, babbling about ghosts and debts. Silas was sitting calmly at a table, pouring 2 cups of tea. He looked past Liam, toward the door. Kale entered, moving with an unnatural grace, and bowed his head slightly to Silas, greeting him as master. Liam stared, his mind refusing to connect the dots. Kale, calling Silas his master? Silas sighed, explaining that Kale was, in fact, the chronically ill junior apprentice he had always been telling Liam about, the one Liam had been unknowingly supporting all these years. His mentor's fantastical stories about crossing time weren't stories at all. Kale began to walk toward him, and Liam backed away until his back hit a wall. He was trapped. Kale's proximity was overwhelming. Looking at him now, Liam realized the aura was gone. The gold, the red, all of it. Kale was something else now, something not entirely human. He asked why. Kale's voice was low, filled with an ancient pain. He explained that when Liam vanished, he had despaired, and the darkness he had fought for so long finally consumed him. But in that abyss, he found a way. He gave up his humanity to cross the centuries, to find his way back to his senior brother. He asked if Liam truly didn't understand. Liam shook his head, his mind a whirlwind of confusion. Kale closed the remaining distance, his lips crashing down on Liam's. It was a kiss of desperation and longing. A decade of unspoken feelings poured into a single moment. When he finally pulled back, Liam was breathless, his mind blank. Kale's voice was a ragged whisper against his skin. He had loved him for so long, and yet Liam had never seen it. Liam, flustered and cornered, his brain grasping for any form of defense, blurted out the first defiant thing he could think of. He would only agree if he could be on top. A slow smile spread across Kale's face, a smile filled with 1,000 years of patience and victory. He agreed. Later, pinned beneath Kale, Liam cursed himself. Kale, holding him close, simply reminded him that he was, technically, on top of the bed. The heart that had stopped beating centuries ago now hammered a steady rhythm against Liam's back. His senior brother, his anchor across time, was finally home.